419, you're with Dave Congleton on News Talk 920 KVEC. This hour, we're joined by vinyl record historian Gary J. Freiberg, talking a little bit about vinyl records and the special place they have in our cultural history. And before the break, Gary, you were chatting a little bit about vinyl records and the covers and how the cover art has changed over the years.
Right. How the evolution started. Again, as we were first looking, they were very, very plain and ordinary. And then they started to get a little bit fancier here. The illustrations start taking on a little bit more life. And again, we're looking at around 1949. This one is dated on the front for 1949. Wow. of this cover. Then as things, again, as part of the evolution with color and still using illustration as the primary medium.
Here's Russ Morgan and his orchestra, Music in the Morgan Manor.
That's right. Oh, as we'll see in a little bit, there was music to do everything by. But as you can see, they started to become a little bit more colorful.
Sure.
This one is even a little bit risque, but we won't point that out here for our YouTube. And, you know, some of them are beautiful here with Arthur Murray.
Arthur Murray.
Yeah, with Arthur Murray. And this one is kind of funny here, the naughty operetta, and having an Indian maid chased by a mounted Canadian Mountie. Let's see, an Arabian guy and a British guy. But anyway, they're all after her. Yeah. And as I say, as the years are going by, now we're talking about going from the late 40s into the early 50s. Right. And they start doing this type of thing where,
Pearl Bailey.
Yeah, where what we're showing for our radio listeners, I got to remember we have radio listeners too, is paintings. And there were some artists that were very, very well known and did some beautiful artwork like this. Here's Jackie Gleason.
Look at Jackie Gleason.
Yeah.
Jackie Gleason plays romantic jazz. He must be maybe 180 pounds in that. Look at that.
Yeah, he was different.
I would never guess that was Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, there was Jackie. And he did a lot of music like this, so we know him. He was so versatile. We know him from the Honeymooners and all of the crazy characters that he did, but he was really a very serious and a very talented musician. He did a lot of things, music to romance by and topics like this. Here's a couple more of the illustration.
Have organ will travel.
Yeah. And we'll just leave that one right there. He's pedaling with an organ on his bicycle, but he has an organ that he'll travel with. Yeah. And this is one of my favorite ones. Again, what this is meant to do is to show the evolution and the progression of the form.
And this is Latin Carnival.
Yeah. This is a Latin Carnival one. And
$1.98.
Yes. And it's long play.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long play.
So, and long play refers to 45 as one song. Long play was the album, multiple songs.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. Because when there were 78s, you could get about 5 minutes worth of recording time. So it was very inconvenient to get up and have to change it. Right. So the technology advancement that Columbia did of being able to get about 15 minutes on a side, that was really a big step. And it's similar to CDs. When CDs first came in, one of the points that they were said is that you can play the entire album without having to get up. After the illustration phase and photography came in, this is really an early example of their starting to use photography. What we're looking at is a Mary Martin as Peter Pan. This is from a Broadway play. Wow. But we can see it's the beginning of photography, and they used it very, very well. Here we have a Marlon Brando.
The wild one.
Yeah, and really able to convey the persona, the charisma of artists.
Now, do you actually have the records inside the album, or do you just collect the covers?
It depends. As I mentioned, I have about 3,500 LPs with the records. I've got about 10,000 album covers. And the reason is that I found a source that was throwing these out and having them recycled. So for the last 11 years, every month and a half or so, I pick up boxes of album covers, and I think these are really important ones.
So the cover is worth something whether it has the album inside or not?
Yes. According to, if you look at a price guide book, typically the album cover by itself is worth about half of what they show. But it was also a way of creating idols. We remember
OBrien.
TV's
Wyatt Earp Sings.
Yes.
You guys see that?
Yeah, and Wyatt Earp, of course, was a very, very popular program during the cowboy genre in the late 50s, early 60s.
He's singing Down in the Meadow, Pale Horse, $1 Silver, On Boot Hill, Timothy, I Came to Town. I've never heard of any of these songs.
No, but you can see how effectively they used photography, and by having, having him look like a singing idol rather than the cowboy character he played every week. Same thing as we're going along here with Tommy Sands.
Oh, there's a name.
Yeah, the Tommy Sands and getting the teenage idol. And one thing that we can prove too is that you always didn't have to look like a Marlon Brando or a Tommy Sands or a OBrien. You could also be like Lou Monte. And
Lou Monte.
Yeah.
He looks like my butcher from Chicago.
Yeah, he sort of looks like he could be my dad a little bit.
Mr. Monte, how about a pound of turkey?
That's right. But
I've never heard of Lou Monte.
No. And
is that his only album?
And see, and that's a lot. That's the part of the audio history that I was talking about that is so important. Is Lou Monte not important, or is he a part of the audio history?
Well, but it's not like Animal Farm where all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. I mean, I don't know.
No, that's true. That's true, but still.
I would think some of those are worth more than others, Gary.
OBrien, because of his exposure, Tommy Sands, Marlon Brando.
Lou Monte, I know.
Yeah, wouldn't be. But it's still fun, and one of the characteristics of album cover art is how it depicts fashion.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
We certainly have a clear example of this. Gale Storm, beautiful.
Yeah.
And then here, something that has always been done. This is Patti Page. They're really accentuating her
Jane Russell.
Her Jane Russells, yeah. They're really, they're really making, yeah. So before there was Dolly Parton, there was Patti Page, and I think we'll just have to say that for people on the radio right now,
they get the idea.
Yeah, they get the idea. Another popular genre as the art form was developing was particularly with jazz and listening music was this kind of stuff, and primarily artists were the people who did the covers weren't known. They weren't recognized at all. But with these, being that they were art creative, perhaps specifically for album covers, the artist was noted. Here, this is A.F. Arnold, that is the name, and Harry and Marian Zelenko.
So the album cover becomes more and more an art form.
Exactly.
Right.
That's a perfect way. It does. It starts to become more of an art form. And then here we are in 1966 with Simon and Garfunkel, really a very effective use of photography, but still...
Bookends.
Yeah, with bookends.
Classic album cover.
Yes, yeah, and just Simon and Garfunkel right there, very effective as with some of the others that we just looked at. But something that you'll notice is that there's not much action going on. It's pretty much just a picture of the artists, and here they are. That's a step above of when they were just wrapped in plain brown wrappers, but still not anything too exciting.
Well, it's a pretty iconic photograph, though.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and that's another aspect of the art form.
Our generation all remembers that album. They all could identify that photo.
Yes.
Who are these guys? Where is this from? Well, that's the cover of Bookends. Sure.
Yes, yeah. And again, and it is. It's very iconic. And of course, they have persevered. Simon and Garfunkel are still very, very popular.
I'm waiting for them to be photographed on the park bench when now they're both 70.
Yes.
It's right around the corner.
How terribly strange to be 70. Yeah. And this is something, too, the wholesomeness, but still not a lot going on. What we're looking at now is For You, Roger Williams. In many, many instances, the artist perhaps wasn't the greatest. He wasn't not the best presentation. Right. So they would go out and use beautiful women.
It's like selling cars. Same principle.
Right. Selling milk.
Sure.
Most anything. Here's one that is fun with Jack Lemmon. And it starts to get a little bit more creative here in that we can see the reflection of the character that he played in Some Like It Hot. And then here he is, I believe he played the piano. But it starts to get a little bit more interesting.
So is he doing the music from Some Like It Hot? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, he actually sings and plays the music from Some Like It Hot.
Wow.
Yes. This one right here is one of the most absolutely famous album covers. In fact, a few years ago, Vinyl Record Day did a poll of what the favorite album covers of all time. And what we're looking at is the Herb Alpert, Whipped Cream, and Other Delights.
Number 2 is, I think, in terms of popularity.
Right. Number 2 in popularity. And in a second, we're going to take a look at number 1, which this...
Let's talk about this one. We'll do number 1 after the news break.
Yeah. This issue sold a fifth of what the biggest one did. But it's a very, very famous, and this gets so much reaction from baby boomer men who will stare off and go, "Oh yes, I remember that." My parents would stash it in the back of their record cabinet.
Is she wearing a bathing suit or is she nude?
I didn't ask her. I got to.
Well, no, I mean, can you tell? I can't tell from here.
She looks nude.
All right, so the implication is that she's naked and she's covered in whipped cream.
And she's covered in whipped cream.
And the name of the album is Whipped Cream and Other Delights.
Yes,
from Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass.
From Herb Alpert. And actually, she was 3 months pregnant. And when she took the shoot, she had to hide the photographs behind the refrigerator. She didn't want her husband to see him. But so far as one of the all-time most recognizable album covers, this is one of them.
That would be a great case of where are they now? All right, we'll talk and find out that story and continue our conversation with vinyl record historian Gary J. Freiberg back on the Dave Congleton Show. Stick around. Here's California Headline News.